Let's go straight into the Lions' den and just talk about what all went wrong for them this year. Because, well, that list is long. But if you just kind of summarize it, are we seeing the 2025 season as a season where they perhaps moved away from their business model that has worked so well, got them so many trophies, which is we get players of a certain vintage, we get experienced players, and we can optimize their skill towards, well, the evening of their career. And they went mid-season towards youth, and that youth's kind of paid off for them.
It's like the world has moved to dual SIMs, but I'm selling the same old phone.
Yeah.
And then some way suddenly realize, no, I need a dual SIM.
Yeah.
But by then it's too late. I think it was a bit like that. They missed the trend, and their style of playing would have been very well suited if they had control of the pitches that they were getting.
Yeah.
If they were playing 150, 160 pitches, then I think the season could have been different because the team would have been structured for that. Ashwin would have been a different bowler. Jadeja would have been a different bowler. Noor anyway got 24 wickets. I'm not a big fan of a central authority deciding the pitches, but that's the way it is. If that's the way it is, you have to play with it. I still think there should be a very, very strong home advantage. Yeah. Not bad pitches, but a home advantage. But if that's not the case, then your teams have to adapt. Sunrisers had to adapt but couldn't. Chennai had to adapt but couldn't. But the green shoots. For Chennai, this was the season of the parched land and the green shoots.
Yeah.
And the green shoots came up later. And if you now look at their team, you got Ayush Mhatre, Urvil Patel, Matisha Patirana. There's many others. Noor Ahmed.
Noor.
At the core of that team...
Brevis.
Brevis, I think they're player of the season in some ways, him and Noor. There's a lot of those, and Ruturaj Gaikwad's not the oldest. When they come back in, they'll have a core that is pretty much a certain age. Anshul Kamboj came back. I thought he had a very good season. So there's a nice young core that's come good in the end. Yeah. And now we've got to see if these young shoots will flower next year.
And of course, what... MS said to you in that post-match presentation where he said that Ruturaj has nothing to worry about.
Doesn't have too many problems. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, doesn't have anything to worry about, which sounded encouraging, but if you just read it on a piece of paper, it could sound like a Godfather dialogue as well. A little scary, but there was nothing scary there because what he meant is that there is a core. You can see the future or the next few seasons for CSK kind of show up in the last few games.
No, absolutely. I think that's the problem. They started, if you see the start, they hit the least sixes in the power play. They just could not get going. And now if you've seen that stat, the one thing we've seen is opening partnerships are so vital. Yeah. And this is what it is. First 6 games, 7.5. I mean, after that, how are you going to, you've lost 10 wickets in the power play. In the first 6 games, you've lost. After that, just see the way they've, gone up, they've upped the ante. And the moment you've upped the ante, you've given your middle order something to go with because you don't have that much power before that. And this is the essential issue with Chennai, that when they, he said something very important, that they were constructed for 150, 160, 170 scores and wickets. So they were telling themselves, okay, if we get this much, we are going to be competitive. These are the kind of batters we need to get that. And those batters will not deliver in a tournament where you're going to get 180, 200 as power scores. And that's exactly what happened. It was constructed for a different tournament. It was constructed for a different home conditions. Yeah. And yes, that was one part of it. The other part of it is that once it started falling apart, the cracks started showing very deeply, And you bought back expensive assets who haven't done much for you. I mean, if, say, somebody like Ashwin had returned at, say, 3 crores or 2.5 crores, 3 crores, he came back to, I think, over 9 crores,
Yeah, that's... Yeah, he's not had a season to remember for sure.
No, he's not. And he'll be the first to understand that. Knowing him, if I do, he'll go back, he'll play the TNPL now. Yeah. He'll start to see if the ball is coming out of his hand the way it should. And he will himself take a call on next year. Because he will play cricket. With a lot of players, you don't know how much cricket they'll play. But he'll take a call next year. I hope the decision will be his because otherwise if CSK decide that, sorry, we're looking at younger players, then it might not be the best homecoming for him. Yeah. And I hope you don't remember him for that if this is indeed his last IPL because he's been one of the IPL giants. So it'll be interesting to see. It gets tougher and tougher when you come back every year. MS said it becomes 15% tougher every year for him to come back.
Wow.
The only thing I want to see next year in the CSK is whether at the start of every game there's a young opener who touches his feet before going out to bat.
That's true. It happened. We saw it. It happened with another team's opener. Just a quick word on Ayush Mhatre and how good he was at the time.
Absolutely fantastic. And in fact, I remember because one of the old KKR analysts was a friend with CSK, and they talked about, they said, we have to get these players in the middle.
Yeah.
And suddenly they got Mhatre, Brevis and Urvil together. And it just changed them. And Mhatre, again, under 17 player playing for India under 19. You think that, okay, he's under 17, it's almost the same age. But guys playing that well, that young is, it makes a huge difference. 2 years makes a huge difference. And I thought he was fantastic because the way he attacked. And, there are a lot of batters who've scored runs. And I think Suryavanshim's also scored a lot of runs. You've seen the effortless hitting. But what I love about Mhatre is his compactness. You see him, the way he bats, the way he hits, and you think, this guy can be a 3-format player. He's not just, I genuinely believe he's not just a hitter of the ball. A lot of the top players now we're looking at have very clean strikes, have great, ball speed, have great eyes. But I think this guy has a lot of technique as well.
He had a decent season with Mumbai.
Yeah.
He had a decent season with Mumbai. Some very good scores, some not so good. But it's part of the learning phase. Yeah. I think that two key players were both very young. Noor Ahmed picked 24 wickets.
Yep.
I think Noor was the one who benefited the most from playing with Dhoni. At the start of the season, there were 2 Dhoni stumpings.
Yep.
That were for the ages.
Yeah.
And so Noor benefited a lot from playing with the master of spin.
Yep.
And I thought, Dearfal Brevis is going to become a CSK great.
Wow, big
It might be a big call to make early, but I think he's going to become a CSK great because he can play across batting numbers. I still think you become a very good T20 player when you go out and play first-class cricket because you understand your game very well. Brevis has just come back from a fantastic season playing long-form cricket in South Africa. And I think Ayush Mhatre, Suryavanshi, they'll all become better cricketers when they play long-form cricket and come back. Look at Jaiswal. So I think Brevis is going to be the star. So I think at the end of the season, the parched land gave way, like in those National Geographic things, the rain comes and suddenly the shoots start to come up. I think that's what CSK season was.